Vayetze Yainkev mebe'er shava vayelech harana. That's the beginning of the parsha, from which our Maamar is called. And of course, there's a number of different translations. Yainkev goes on a yid, it goes on the neshama, and he's going away from a good place to a not such a good place, what we call Yerid Tzedach Aliyah. And in the Maamar, we had three different translations of the Vayetze mebe'er shava, and three different translations in the Vayelech harana. The first is that the Yerida is in Atzilus itself, from Bina to Malchus. The second is that it's from Atzilus to the lower worlds. And the third, that it's from the lower worlds to Golus, And of course, why is Yaakov Avinu going away from Be'er Shava, Vayelech harana? And the answer is because there's a kavana of Yerida Tzedach Aliyah, that the neshama should have an aliyah. But in the neshama having an aliyah, there's a number of details. And of course, the first detail is that the neshama will struggle and reveal the inner koiches of the neshama and achieve a higher ascent. But the second idea is that in addition to what happens to the neshama per se, there is the neshama's involvement with the world, and how by the neshama's involvement with the world, the neshama has an additional aliyah. But more importantly, he elevates the world itself. And that's what it says in the Hemshech. Vayikach me'avnei hamokem, vayosam berasheisa, vayishkav b'mokem hahu. That Yaakov Avinu takes avnei hamokem. Avnei is Loshen Rabim, which goes on Pirut and Klipa. And he collects the avnei hamokem, the stones from the place, and vayosam berasheisa, puts them underneath his head or above his head, and he sleeps there. That the purpose, or the process, or the job of a neshama that descends into this world is not just to be involved in holiness per se, but to be involved in Avnei Hamokim. Take the world, the stones, the doimim of this world, and make them from Avnei into Evan, from many stones into one stone, from divisiveness and separateness into unity and oneness, or oneness and unity. And then of course the Pasha continues that Yainkev, the neshama, leaves the highest heights of heaven, and it descends into this world, not just to be involved in holiness, but to be involved in the Avnei Hamokim, and to raise them up in Ashaysev, that it should be even higher than the head of Yaakov Avinu. And then it says, Vayida Yaakov Neder, Yaakov makes an oath, a vow. The Eibush will be with me. Ushmarani will guard me, on this path on which I am walking. It can be bread to eat and clothing to wear. Vishavti Bishalom al Beis Avi, I'm going to return home to my father's house in peace. And then there's the Hemshech HaPasuk, which I'll get to momentarily. So the Rebbe taught us in the Maamar that the neshama comes from the highest world to the lowest world. And it doesn't only engage in the neshama's inyanim, it engages also in the Vayikach me'avnei hamokem. And that the purpose and the point is lechem lechel ubeged lilbesh v'shafti b'shalom. Lechem lechel means teira. Beged lilbesh means mitzvahs. And v'shafti b'shalom means tshuva. And the way tshuva was explained in this Maamar, tshuva includes the idea of kol masecha yu l'shem shamayim and b'chol d'rachecha de'eyu. In other words, the Eibishter gave us a purpose, which is called Avodas HaTzadikim, B'min Nimlech B'nim Shesayim Shel Tzadikim, which is included in the first two parts of this pasuk, Lechem Lechel Ubeged Lilbish, Teira and Mitzvahs. And then there is a chiddush that a yid adds, a novelty that a yid adds, which was beyond the kavanah of Teira and Mitzvahs, which is using the physical world that's reshus, that's not a mitzvah, and that's benign, that's plain, and using it for Avodas Hashem, L'Shem Shamayim and the Ehu. And this is called Vishavti B'Shalom Tshuva. But the Maamar also taught us that there's two madregis in this. In a normal time, in Shanim Kitikunim, when things are not completely crazy and the concealment of godliness is not so total, so the order would be first Lechem Lechel, which is learning Teira, then Beged Lilbish, which is doing mitzvahs, and then Vishavti B'Shalom B'Aved of Tshuva. But the Zohar says that there's an order that happens in the darkness of Golus, in the deepest darkness of Golus, which is us. And the Zohar says that then Vishavti B'Shalom comes before V'nasan li lechem lechel lebeged lilbish. First is tshuva. First is the avodah of coming back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is beyond Torah and mitzvahs. And then this comes down also into lechem lechel lebeged lilbish, into Torah and mitzvahs. And that's what the Maamar has taught us so far. That the Dibur HaMaschal Maamar is Vishavti Bishalom, El Beis Avi. And one of the questions which came up in the Maamar is, if it says in the beginning, Vayetze Yankiv mi be'er shava, it should say Vishavti Bishalom el be'er shava. And it doesn't say that. It says Vayetze Yankiv mi be'er shava, Vishavti Bishalom el Beis Avi. So the Rebbe explained, because the neshama, when it returns, goes higher from where it left. It leaves Be'er Shava, it doesn't go back to Be'er Sheva, which is either Malchus or Bina. It goes back to Beis Avi, which is a higher inyan, a much higher madrege. Because tshuva reaches higher than where the neshama was before. And in the darkest times of Galus, tshuva is the ikir. The idea of elevating the Gashmiistic world becomes the primary thing, and becomes even before Torah and mitzvahs. The avoid of tshuva, the avoid of Mesiras Nefesh, come before Torah and mitzvahs. This is a very brief summary of the Maamar to date. This is class 8 on the Vishavti Bishalom. And I very, very quickly summarize the Maamar until this point. Now, this is our 8th class. 3 classes were an introduction. 2 classes explained Vayetze. 1 class explained Vayikach mi'avnei hamokim. And then we had one class that explained the beginning of the Vayid Yaakov Neder. Lechem lechel beged lilbish v'shavti b'shalom. That was the last class that we had, the most recent class. And we talked in that class, amongst other things, about these 2 levels. That even in this world, if there's godliness revealed, the Seder is first Torah mitzvahs. Lechem lechel beged lilbish, and then tshuva. But when there's a greater darkness, the Zohar says the opposite order. First, Vishavti Bishalom, and then Lechem Lechem Lebeged Lilbish. Without any further ado, let's go to the Maamar. Okay? And we're going to begin in Perek Chaf Aleph, which is on page Pei Aleph. And we're going to start 7 lines down, where it says, V'zeu gamkein ma shekosav, v'hoya havaya li leilikim, v'he'evan hazeis, asher samti matzei v'yia beis elikim. What's outstanding about this Maamar? Yeah, what's outstanding about this Maamar? What's outstanding about this Maamar is the idea that there is something kvayochel, that a Yid gives the Eibishter, that Bepashtus was not part of the divine plan. Like I said to you before, the Eibishter's contemplation, the Eibishter's consideration, the Eibishter's consultation about creation had to do with tzaddikim, which is Torah and mitzvahs. And then we give him a chiddush. The chiddush is tshuva. Tshuva. Which means we don't only give him our neshama, we don't only give him our guf and our nefesh habahamis, we give him our chelke ba'elim, a piece of the world. And we don't only give him a piece of a world as the physical things in the world that have to say mitzvah, used for mitzvahs. We give him the things in the world in a way of l'shem shamayim and da'eyu, in the ordinary common things that we're involved with in our everyday life. We give that to Hashem completely. And this is called higher than Torah mitzvahs. This idea of rishus, which is connected to tshuva, is higher than of Torah mitzvahs. So we learned Vayetze, we learned Vayikach mi'avnei hamokim, and we learned Vayid Yaakov Neder. There's lechem lechel, beged lilbish, v'shavti v'shalom beis avi. Was steht weiter? V'hoya Hashem li lelikim. That if the Eibishter is going to accommodate or support Yaakov Avinu, which means every single neshama that descends, even though the beginning of its name is Yud, which goes on Chochmah, but the rest of its name is Ekev, which is Heel. It descends from the highest levels to the lowest levels to come into this world to fulfill a mission. But the Eibishter is going to guard this neshama and preserve this neshama and keep this neshama, so that the neshama should be able to fulfill its purpose. And Vishavti Bishalom, the neshama comes home. And coming home doesn't only mean going back to where it was earlier, but Mailas HaTshuva. So then the pasuk finishes, V'haya avaya li lelikim. So the Eibishter is going to be my God. God is going to be to me lelikim. But then it says, V'ha'evan hazeis, this one stone, Hashesamti matzeva, which I placed as a monument, Yiyeh Beis Elikim, is going to be the house of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Two things. That Yaakov Avinu is offering HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that if Hashem is going to keep him on this incredibly treacherous journey, and he's going to come home safe and sound, two things are going to transpire. Number one, Hashem is going to be his God for the person. And number two, the stone is going to become the house of God. That means for the world. That B'Klolos, this is the difference between Teireh Mitzvahs, Lechem Lechal, Beged Lilbish, and Tshuva, Vishavti, Bishalom. And specifically, there's a lot of overlap, right? There's Teireh Mitzvahs in Ruchnius and in Gashmius, and then of course in Tshuva it's the same thing. The idea that you use your Gufa, Nefesh Abhamas, and Chelki Ba'elam, even in Varei Harashus, for Avodas Hashem. So you have these two oaths, these two promises, these two vows. The first is Havaya Lila Lekim, Hashem will be my personal God. And the second is that Even Azais is going to be Beis Elikim. Now remember that in the beginning there were Avonim Loshan Rabim, many stones. And now the many have become one, which shows, number one, that they've joined together in the service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And number two, they've become one. So the Rebbe is going to now explain this part. In other words, this is where we're holding. This is the home stretch of the Maimed. This is where we're holding. Once we understand the Vishavti Bishalom, we move on to understand the two things that Yankov promises HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Havaya Yiyeh Lila Lekim, and Even Azais Yiyeh Beis Elikim. And the Rebbe begins with the first one. V'hoya Havaya Lila Lekim. The first thing is that if the Neshama comes down into this world, and he goes through the difficulties of this world, and he comes home with success. So the Eibush is going to be Lila Lekim, to me Elikim. And of course, you know the Rebbe italicizes the word Li, and Li means something which is forever. Says the Rebbe, Hu ha'ilu shenasa b'ha'adam. This is called Yiridat Tzedek Aliyah. The Neshama came into this world from a certain place, Lamaila, and when it goes back, it goes even higher. But this is in the person. This is not in the world. The Neshama has an Aliyah. V'hoya Havaya Lila Lekim. By the Neshama struggling with worldliness and material things to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and successfully elevates those worldly things and so forth and so on, the Neshama has an Aliyah which is called Havaya Lila Lekim. And of course the idea is, you'll see it later on in the Maimed, that Havaya is higher than Elikim. And when you reveal a higher Madrega in Havaya, the lower Madrega Havaya becomes, relatively speaking, a Shem Elikim. Right? There's a lot of names Havaya, Yudke Vavke, in Atzilus and in Kesed and so on. And when you're dealing with a higher Havaya, the lower Havaya is Elikim. V'hoya Havaya Lila Elikim means Hashem is going to reveal the higher Madrega in Shem Havaya, and the higher Madrega is still, so that the earlier Havaya is going to become to me like Shem Elikim, which is something which is much lower. But then the Rebbe continues, L'achar is a Meisif, but in addition to the idea that a person's neshama has an aliyah by coming into this world, Vishavti Bishalom, it doesn't go back to the same place he came from, but it goes even higher. And Havaya Lila Elikim. But then there's also the other part, which is elevating the world, or bringing Hashem into the world. The second idea is this stone, which Yaakov makes a matzeva into a monument, Yeh Beis Elikim, is going to be Beis Elikim. Now, one of the interesting observations is, when he speaks about Hashem being his God, he says, Havaya Yeh Lil Elikim. And when he speaks about Beis Elikim, he doesn't say Yeh Beis Hashem Elikim. He says Beis Elikim. And the Rebbe is going to say momentarily that Beis Elikim is very different than Havaya Lil Elikim. Shagam ha'even hazeis, even the stone, which is dvarim gashmim, physical things, atzmam. Moreover, they're in the doimem class, right? The silent class, the inanimate class. Initially, they were stones in plural, and the concept, the inyan of stones in plural means piru, division from one another, and division from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And of course, both of those divisions are interconnected. They become one stone. And again, in both ways, the stones join together because they have a common purpose, and they join together with the Eibishter, who is the basis for their unity and their purpose. So Yaakov came into this world and he engaged with the Avnei Amokim Loshan Rabim. He's going to make them into Even Achas, and now they become the Eibishter's home. And he adds in the bracket of Eifen de Vishamti Matzeva. he places it as a monument, and he translates the word matzeva lashon nitzav melech, that it's standing like a king stands, with a great firmament, with a great permanence, with a great surety and a great certainty. Right? I'm sure you know this. It's in Chazal. Rashi brings it in Chumash that b'mei ha'ovis, a matzeva was an honorable thing, and later on the Eibishter altered like tit l'cha matzeva kaleitz. No matzeva. You're not allowed to make a matzeva. It's an even achas. That the time of the Ovis was honorable, later it became asur. But the Rebbe here addresses how the idea of matzeva is honorable as it was b'mei ha'ovis. And he says the shadish of matzeva means a monument which stands with a certain certitude, a certain strength. Shenasa balabayis, that this Evan and the Eibishter that the stone comes to represent becomes a balabayis melech, a king, al kol in Yonov, the chelk of Elam, all aspects of the person's portion of this world. And matzeva lashon nitzav melech means that my whole life, all of my gashmis, becomes a monument for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'gam pirish matzeva lashon nitzav melech. In addition, matzeva also means that the king should stand. Taichas the Rebbe shamam shich bohem. He brings down into all the one's physical things. Gila mechusay yizbarach, the Eibishter's kingship. Bechinas malchusay beratzon kim aleim, the way the Eibishter's kingship was accepted by the Jewish people willingly, which is of course shalom ma'ila mebechinas mem shalosh behechach, which is of course better than when one accepts the dominance or the order or the dictatorship of a leader by force. That's the whole chiddush of Chassidus, that a melech is willfully accepted by the subject. He's selected by the people and encouraged to become a king from their angle. And nitzav melech means that the king is standing strong based on the will that the people have. So in the word matzeva, there's two ideas, that the yid is standing strong and that the Eibishter's melucha is also standing strong in this world. So the pasuk says, the many became one. The division became unity with one another and with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it becomes Beis Elikim. Says the Rebbe, Shiabayis V'dira L'Elikim, a home and a dwelling place for Shem Elikim. Says the Rebbe, this means Shalamayla Me'avaya, higher than the Eibishter's name Havaya, Gam Me'avaya Lila Elikim, even from the way Havaya is becoming Elikim compared to a higher Havaya. And the Rebbe says, Shemitzad Dachu the Nefesh Elikis. The tshuva of the Nefesh Elikis can affect Havaya Lila Elikim. I'll explain it momentarily. The tshuva of the Nefesh Abahamis and the Guf makes not Havaya Lila Elikim, but Beis Elikim itself, which he translates to mean Lehelem Ha'atzmi, that's Musa Yizbarach, the hiddenness on a level of etzem in relationship with itself, which is an Atzmus Amos. I've talked about this in the past, in this Maamar, also in other Maamorim. Yeah, and I guess the way I should present it, you have this in Chassidus in more than one place, but one of the simplest ways of presenting it is V'ita l'chol l'kim, V'ita l'shamayim, or Mishmani ha'aretz, v'revdogan v'sirish. Yitzchak is giving Yankiv a brach. And of course, the brachas that Yitzchak gave Yankiv, it is a govu ha'birchis heire, atavas give his helam. The brachas that Yitzchak gave Yankiv is greater than the brachas that Avraham Avinu gave Yitzchak, or that the Eibishter gave Yitzchak. And it's ironic that it starts with V'ita l'chol l'kim. We all know that Elikim is a name that denotes concealment. So why would Yitzchak, who is giving Yankiv greater brachas, that the brachas he received use Shem Elikim? So it says in the Maimorim that there is a level of Elikim which is higher than Shem Havaya. Normally Elikim means the godliness of concealment or the godliness of limitation. And Havaya means the godliness of revelation or the godliness of limitlessness. But then there's Elikim which is higher than Havaya, which is called Helam Ha'atzmi, hidden in relationship with itself. So there is a Havaya Lila Elikim. In other words, how there's a lower level and a higher level, and the lower level compared to the higher level, Elikim compared to Havaya. Compared to a higher level still, the earlier Havaya is an Elikim, and there's a higher Havaya, higher and higher. But then there's Elikim in Helam Ha'atzmi, which is above levels. The idea that Hashem is concealed in and by himself. So the Rebbe observes that Yankiv Avinu is going to do two things. He's expecting from the Eibishter support, and if the Eibishter is going to give him support in the two things that he's planning to do, he is going to pledge to Hashem two things in return. What are the two things that he's going to do? He's going to give himself to Hashem. And he's also going to give his world to Hashem. Giving his world to Hashem, this is the Vishavti Bishalom, the Tshuva. And if the Eibishter is going to keep him, so he's going to give him two things. Havaya haya li le'elikim. Hashem is going to be my God. That's talking about the person, or as the Rebbe calls it in the Maamar, the nefesh elokis. The Yidid Tzedek Aliyah as it affects to the person. In as much as this is concerned, the only level that he's able to reach when Yankov says, I am going to give my godly soul to the Eibishter, it's in such a way that he's going to reveal a higher level of Havaya, so the lower Havaya is going to become Elokim. But there's no Helam Ha'atzmi. There's no Atzmos. But then there is the idea of elevating the world. By taking the Avonim Loshen Rabim of the Mokkah and making him to Evan Loshen Yachid. And then you have Beis Elokim without the mention of Shem Havaya because it's even higher. So we see here another step, that not only are there two things in Yankov's Avodah, what he does with himself, what he does with the world, but there's two steps in what he's pledging to give Hashem for looking after him and for preserving him and for keeping him. Inasmuch as he personally came closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's only Havayu Elokim. Inasmuch as he's elevating the world, it's Elokim by itself, because this Elokim by itself is higher than Havayu Elokim, and this is the Inyan of Beis Elokim. That's it. And he continues in Perek HaBeis, Ubechadei, in order, Shohev and Azais Yeh Beis Elokim, that not only Havaya should be Havaya Yeh Elokim, but also that the stone should be Beis Elokim, Helam Atzmi itself. Says the Rebbe, there's work to be done. What is the work? Vayikach es ha'evan, you take the stone, Yankov took the stone, which is underneath his head. Vayasa Mesa Matzev, makes it into a monument. Vayitzek shemen al reish, he pours oil on his head. Translates the Rebbe these words, but this is earlier. Vayashkem Yankov Abeker, and he said, Manir Amokam Bazeh, Ein Zeki and Beis Elokim Vazeh Sharash Mayim, and he took, right, Vayikach es ha'evan eshasom merashesav yasam esa matzev, and then he said, Im Yeh Elokim Imadi Yashmarani, and so on the rest. The first thing is when he gets up in the morning. After his Aved and Bidur not here in this world, he takes one stone. Translates the Rebbe. First of all, he starts off with many stones. And many stones denotes not only separateness from him, but separateness from one another. The two are interconnected. And instead, you have Even Yachas. They become one stone. The many become one stone. The Rebbe used to quote the Lashon that you have on the dollar bill in Latin, from pluribus unum, you make from many one, right? And this is an Inyan Pnimi. From Avnei Loshen Rabim, you make Even Achas. Says the Rebbe, Beduk Mas Yud. This transformation from many into one is like the letter Yud, the Shem Havaya, which is Bechinas Chochma, that unifies everything. Says the Rebbe, in addition to this, in addition to making the many into one, there's Hekbiya Esa Lamayla Yesa, he raises up even higher, Vayasam Esa Matzeva, and it's comparable to the idea of Kama Alumasi V'gam Nitzav. In other words, first you take it out of the Rishos of Klipa and you bring it in the Rishos of Kedusha. After you burn the Rishos of Kedusha, you raise it even higher. So bringing it into the Rishos of Kedusha would be Atzilus. And the raising it even higher, as it says, 2 lines on the bottom of page Pei Aleph, it's the 13 attributes of mercy, in other words, Kesed, which is higher than Atzilus, that the stones are raised even higher. And of course, you have to get the Shemen, because Shemen has to do with Kesed. So Vayitzek Shemen Resha means you raise up the Matzeva, you raise up the stone which you've already raised up. That it should be in Atzilus, that should be in Kesed, and that's why you pour Shemen. And the Rebbe says that he'll be Tzarachmar Yudin and Vavin, and the letters Yud and the letters Vav. In other words, they start off with a point and then they become a Kav. And here we're raising up the Even Achas back to Keser. The Yeshvav Shalamata Mea Yud, the Yeshvav Shalamayla, there's a Vav which is lower than a Yud, and there's a Vav which is higher than a Yud, top of page Pei Beis. Now, Shalachein move b'teireh b'tchilas ha'inyan sha'ashayra atu b'chinas vav u'mokum in kosa b'chinas yud hagam shebesiyim ha'inyan masik shom shehavav hulamayla me'yud ki yesh beis inyan abiyud. There's a vav which is lower than the yud and there's a vav which is higher than the yud. What matters is that this is in the madrega of keser and you're raising up the stone to the madrega of keser. Then you pour oil on this stone, says the Rebbe, which is even higher than Gemitzarach. So it's 3 steps, right? There's standing up the matzeva, there's making the matzeva, there's standing up the matzeva and pouring oil. Making the matzeva is fulfilling the purpose Of Vayikach Mavni Amokim, making it into Even Achas. Standing up the Matzeva, we'll be raising it up to Madrega with Gimel Midas Arachmim, and pouring oil will be even higher. And then the Rebbe says, Vayidei Zen, as a consequence of this, Even Azais Yeh Beis Elikim. The stone becomes a bias for Elikim, for the Eibishter himself, for Helam Ha'atzmi, and the Rebbe says, Yihi Yeloshen Zocher, it will be in masculine. Hagam she'emer Even Azais Loshen Akeva. Even though he started off by saying Even Azais Loshen Akeva, it doesn't finish off by saying Tihiyah, but Yihiyah has become Loshen Zocher. Kikoy ala gila de yula see that goes on the revelation, which is when Mashiach comes. Sha'az Yeh Shir Chadash Zocher, there will be a new song in masculine, which is Gula She'nacharei goes. And of course, you all know the significance of this. I mean, Bahagdama, right? I mean, I have to sort of state. The obvious. The obvious is that Torah was written with diktuk. And of course, the Torah was given to us, written with Hebrew grammar, didn't come along with a manual. Didn't tell us how to read the grammar. We had to extract the laws of the grammar from the biblical text, which is why there's so much debate about how the grammar works amongst the great grammarians and Balei Mikra that existed in the times of the early Rishonim. And of course, one of the big things is that you can have in one pasuk lashon zachar, lashon akeva, lashon ava, lashon asid, lashon haviv, lashon yachad, and lashon rabim, and all of these things are anomalies that speak to secrets and mysteries. And here is no exception. That he starts off by saying, Even Azais, this stone is feminine. And by the way, if you're familiar with the Maamar, Reish Nun Dalet, for example, that the opposite of Even Azais is Vemuna Kol Zeis V'Kayam Aleinu. That Zeus is the Zochar actually, and the Ve'emuna is the Nekeva. In other words, Ve'emuna Azei, it's the feminine in Atzilus versus the Nekeva, which goes into the lower worlds. I'm just throwing this out. But then it says, Yihiyah. So Ve'evan Azois Asher Samti Matzeva. You're taking a stone and you're raising it up by itself as Lashon Nekeva. Taka the Nekeva in Atzilus was Lashon Nekeva. And Yeh is the Zachar in Atzilus, which is Lashon, which means that it goes on the Gula Asidu, which is Lashon Zachar. And of course, you all know the Vart Shebedover. The Vart is as follows: that it says in Chumash Rashi and it's explained in Chassidus that masculine means that it comes from the Meibishn, and feminine means that it comes from us. So there's a rule that if Hashem initiates, that means if Hashem starts giving us something from His end to inspire us. So when Ish Mazriya Tchila, when the Eibishter initiates, so you let us Nekeva, our avodah is considered weak because we didn't do it on our own initiative. But Isha Mazras Tchila, if we do the avodah without Hashem's help, the avodah tshuva on our own, so then you let the Zachar. Which of course explains why all the other songs which the Jewish people sang historically, beginning with Az Yashir and Batashar Miriam, and then Ali B'Yer, and then Ha'azinu, and all the other songs, Chveisvas, David HaMelech, and Yeshaya, and all the rest, and Dveira, all of the Shirim, there's 10 Shirim, are Shira Chadasha Lashon Nekeva. Except for Shir Lashem Shir Chadash Lasad Lav V'Nimcha Shir Chadash. Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be a new song. And that song is going to be different than all the songs that were in the past. And instead of being Shira, it's going to be Shir Lashon Zachar, because it's going to come about through our avodah, through our tshuva. And that's what the Rebbe says here, that even though the stone starts off as Veheven Azes, but then it's going to be Yeh Beis Elikim. And Yeh Beis Elikim means that it's going to reach a stage of being Lashon Zachar, it's going to reveal the Eibishter himself through our tshuva. And since it's going to reach Kvayachal, the Eivish himself, through our tshuva, it's going to have the Maila of Zachar. It's going to be strong and permanent and real and lasting. So we explained the Yerida, we explained the Avoida, we explained the Tachas Avoida, and we explained the end, the Schar, and what the Eivish, what Yerida is going to give the Eivish. So the Rebbe says in Perek Chav Gimel, this also explains the earlier pasuk that the Shalmis says that Yankov Avinu says. Before it says that the Eibush is going to be Lila Likim and Ha'evan Azes Yeh Matzeva, it says Vishavti Bishalom, I'm going to come home to my father's house. And of course, Vishavti is Lashon Tshuva, Kumeshi B'Avedes Ha'adam, as it is in a person's personal service. That B'Yesei B'Chorin, he finds himself in Chorim as Managolos, and then he comes home in tshuva. There's a parallel between that concept of Vishavti Bishalom, Le'inyan Vishavti Bishalom, Al-Beis Avi, K'meshehu, Bepashtus, the physical idea of a son returning to his father's house, Shekoya Lahashova V'Achazora Michorin Le'Beis Avi, which is a reference to the return and the coming back from Chorin to his father's home, and this, of course, is Jatia Bagul Yasad Love, when Mashiach comes. So the simple Taj Vishavti Bishalom Al-Beis Avi is when Mashiach comes. And the Rebbe says, but Vishavti Bishalom happens even before her. Because even though the true union of Vishavti Bishalom, the true idea of Dira B'Tachtenim happens after Mashiach comes, but now also we have a taste of it. Okamuv and Gamizen, the proof is from another example of the same. Yitzchak Aviyullah Shadasa, the word Yitzchak, which is the name of Yankov Avinu's father, also, which means laughter, also was in plural. Because the true concept of laughter and delight is going to be only after Mashiach comes. It's written, only after Mashiach comes will our mouths be filled with laughter. There's the Ogamkin Mashallah Dafka Yem, which is why the Gemara says that after Mashiach comes, we're going to say Yitzchak. Dafka to Yitzchak, Ata Avina, you are father, not Avaram and not the Yankiv, because he's going to make us laugh. And I just want to add what the Rebbe says always, that it says in Maamar Chasidus that also la'adam l'male piv tzchek be'elamazeh, a person is not allowed with his full mouth nowadays, because it says oz yimal tzchek pini, only when Mashiach comes we're going to laugh. So the Rebbe says more than once that oz is begimatria 8, and it goes on the Frierdiker Rebbe's generation, who was 7 plus 1, the 8th generation from the Baal Shem Tov. And from the times that the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Rebbe says, now we're able to laugh. Oz yimal tzchek pinu goes on now. And the Rebbe says, because of the work we do now, before Mashiach comes, to bend and transform darkness to light. In Yin Hashalom, the of peace. That the opponent also becomes holy. It's not just in your neshama, or in your body and animal soul, also in your portion of the world, which is what our Maamar is all about. When Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation. There's going to be the true idea of peace, which is which is going to be when Mashiach comes. So Yitzchak means there'll be laughter in the future. But Vehine Hagam Sheyitzchak Hu Lashon Nasid. Even though Bepashtus, Yitzchak is plural, that you only laugh after Mashiach comes, the true laughter, the true joy or delight of on high, yearly Asad Kana will be only after Mashiach comes. Says Rebbe Mekomakim, it's not the only truth. Yitzchak is called Yitzchak today, which of course denotes laughter tomorrow, but it has to mean something for now also. Moving, it's indicative, it's understood. Shagam achshav, that even today, yesh tainug u'tzchek zeh, we have this pleasure. And we have this laughter, like it says in the pasuk, tzchek asa li elikim asa kvar. That even though Yitzchak means will laugh, also means did laugh. In other words, that even though the primary inyan of the schar of Yitzchak is going to be li'asad lave, me'ein zeh you have now as well. Shalai hatzchek v'hatainug nas. Now, why would you say that if Mashiach comes, we're going to laugh? As indicated in the word Yitzchak, must it mean that we're laughing now too, even though Yitzchak is Lashon Nasid? So he gives you a very simple answer. The laughter and pleasure we're going to have Lasad Loving. Is based on the work we do now. Only the revelation of this pleasure after Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe says, if the laughter of the Yasid Love is based on the Avodah we're going to do now, then you have to say that the laughter is now as well. And therefore you don't only say Yitzchak, because when Mashiach comes we're going to laugh, that Yitzchak means laughter into the world now as well. And then the Rebbe says in the bracket, that this that it's written that after Mashiach comes we're going to say to Yitzchak, he's our father. Because he, more than Avram and Yankiv, is going to save the Jewish people from the Golos. Says the Rebbe Shemein Zeh Yesh Gam Achshav, that even at the Golos itself, the idea that Yitzchak is the one who will save us is felt already. Shagam Bezman HaGolos, even in times of Golos, who Megan Al Yisrael guards the Jewish people. Sha'agon Azuti Achakach, but even that's only HaGolos, that later on it becomes saving us from Golos, but now he saves us as well. So what the Rebbe just told us is that even though Yitzchak means future, it means present as well. So the Rebbe says, top of page Pei Gimel, the same is true when it says Vishavti Bishalom, as he said in the beginning of Chav Gimel, that even though Vishavti Bishalom B'Pashtus means after Mashiach comes, you have to say that just like Yitzchak, which means tzchai, doesn't only mean future, it means present. So Vishavti B'Shalom doesn't only mean future, it means present as well. The same is true about Vishavti B'Shalom. That even though the Amit is the Yin Shalom the highest kind of peace is where the animals are no longer predatory, the whole world becomes a peaceful place. Yeli Yasid Lavi is not going to happen until Mashiach comes. Still, a taste of it from now as well in times of Golus. That those things that are obstacles, that block, do not only shouldn't oppose, but to the contrary, they should help us. And this is the taich Vishavti Bishalom Beis Avi, that not only after Mashiach comes, when there's the push at the taich in Beis Avi, when we come home in peace, but even in the saves Managolos, when Managolos B'chlau, there's the Vishavti B'Shalom, how there's peace even now. How does that peace express itself in Goyim and Goyishkeit, helping Yidden? The Rebbe talk all the time about the idea that today we live in America. In America, Baruch Hashem, there's no oppression, there's no religious persecution. We're free to learn Torah and do mitzvahs as we wish. And the Rebbe would always point out, and the help us not so they help us. And that's part of the Vishavti B'Shalom, which is before Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe brought Vishavti B'Shalom, compared it to the word Yitzchak, and argued that just like in Yitzchak, the primary inyan of Yitzchak is going to be after Mashiach comes. But we taste it before. The same is true of Vishavti B'Shalom. Move on, which brings us to another point. In addition to the explanation we just gave, Hashayich is the inyan Vishavti B'Shalom El Beisavi. The connection between returning in peace to our Father's house, as it happens before Mashiach comes. The idea of return to Abish's house, which will happen when Mashiach comes. Even in Golos. We have so many obstacles, so many difficulties. You have to ask. You have to survive it all, because Shalom is Shlilas Shvichas Damim, the idea of peace, which is the opposite of Shvichas Damim. Hinegam Oz, even in those times of Golos. Ayadei take of the Mesiras Nefesh, when Yidden have Mesiras Nefesh. On the level of Yechida, Mizbatlam Kolam Minayim Uma'akv, it removes all obstacles. In other words, first the Rebbe said that we have now a taste of Liyasid Lave, that even though the true idea of Shalom only happens after Mashiach comes, but now also, says the Rebbe, Al Yedei HaTake of the Mesiras Nefesh, that Bechinas Yechida, our strength of Mesiras Nefesh of Yechida, Mizbatlam Kolam Minayim Uma'akv, that even now you completely remove all obstacles. Moreover, Shem Gufam and Cyber, Hashem to help us serve the Eibishter, Bedugmas that may not show Mashiach, us like the piece of what will be after Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe just, it's what we learned so far. First of all, we learned the pshat of a Miyir Likim Imodi, V'havai Hayavai Li Likim, and then Evan says, yeah, Beis Likim, and that Beis Likim is higher than Havai Li Likim. That was the first point. And the second point we learned was that he raises it all up. And of course the third point is that in the Letzter Goyim and Teg from Golos, in the end of Golos, we already have a taste of this laughter. And we already have a taste of this peace, which is going to be when Mashiach comes. Now we're going to leave Chav Hei and Chavav for the next shir, because that speaks about Pada B'Shalom. Now the Maamar, of course, overlap, because Pada B'Shalom is connected either to Yud Kislev or to Yutes Kislev. And they frequently come out in these pashas. This is pashas Vayetze, and then you have Vayetze, you would be Tes Kislev, and then Vayishlach and Vayeshev would be Yutes Kislev, right? So you have Pada B'Shalom also. Pada B'Shalom is Beis Shalom, and here you have Shafti B'Shalom also, Beis Shalom. The Maamar all overlap. So the Rebbe here mentions Pada B'Shalom, and Blinad, we're going to give a separate shir on that idea of Pada B'Shalom, and the idea that even after before Mashiach comes, we have a taste of how it's going to be Liyasid Love. So move now to page Dalet at the bottom, Peirik Chav Zayin, and it finishes V'hoya Havaya Lila Likim. He goes back V'hoya Havaya Likim. The Eibush is going to be my God. Shayadei ha'aveda v'shafti b'shalom. Yid works and returns. That means he brings back sparks of worldliness to Lakus, and he does it in peace. Shoinyan birur chelkei ba'elam, to bring clarity to his portion of the world. As a consequence, Yegila del Asad Lovid, there's going to be a revelation of Mashiach comes, which is called Avaya Lilikim. Taiches the Rebbe, Shaz Yetia Kadosh Baruch Hamaminatek. Hashem is going to remove the sun from its sheath. The world is going to be filled with knowledge of God like the water covers the sea. In other words, Hashem is going to be the simple truth. There's going to be a revelation of the Eibishter himself. Hashem is not going to have any garments. We see the Eibishter directly, which is the Taich. And he explains, that compared to the godliness of the Asad Lavei, the highest madrigas of godliness revealed now with Kol Shem Havaya. Now, of course, what's odd about this is because we said earlier in today's class that V'hoya Havaya Lila Likim is the lower madriga, and the higher madrigas of Even Azeh Shanta Matzav Yebesa Likim. And since over here the Rebbe uses the lashon Gili Ha'atzmos, you have to say the pshat. That when the Rebbe says over here, V'hoya Havaya Lila Likim, it doesn't mean only Giluyim, it even means the idea of Gili Ha'atzmos, which is really not Havaya Yela Likim, but the Likim Yela Likim. And I don't know about this, and we're going to learn now Perek Chavches. Says the Rebbe, V'zehu Vishavti Bishalom Beisavi. And this is the pasuk with which our Maamar began, which is now being finished with, completed with. That even though the way we learned the Maamar, we learned it in the order of the psukim, Vayetze, V'yikach Mavnei Amokim, V'yida Yankiv Neder, and then we learned Vishavti Bishalom Beisavi, V'hoya Havaya Lila Likim, V'evan Azeh Shanta Matzav Yebesa Likim. But now the Rebbe focuses on the pasuk on which the Maamar itself was based, which is the pasuk Vishavti Bishalom Beisavi. I will return in peace, which is the idea of tshuva, to my father's house. This means that the neshama is not only elevating itself, in which case the neshama would go back to the shadish from which it came, but the neshama is also elevating the world, which is called Avodas Habirurim, which makes the neshama go even higher. And through this effort of elevating the sparks in the world, it was called B'chol Masecha Yil Shem Shamayim and called Rochecha De'ehu, that in general it's not part of Teda and Mitzvah, which is called Lechem Lechel and Beged Lilbish, but rather it's a part of Tshuva, which is included in the words Vishavti Bishalom. This brings about Le'asad Lavei Inyan Vishavti Bishalom. The Mashiach comes, we bring these sparks back. Shia Le'asad Lavei, which is the when Mashiach comes. The end is that this stone becomes Beis Elikim, not Havayu Elikim, but Elikim. Helam Ha'atzmi. Says the Rebbe, V'zeh for Moira, the fact that after Mashiach comes, there's going to be a revelation of Havayu Elikim. And higher than that, there's going to be a revelation of Elikim itself. Beis Elikim proves how important Golus is. Why? Because made al gate al ha'ili shabahavayd saves man Golus. It indicates how important the work we do in the times of Golus is. Why? Because what we do in the times of Golus brings this Geula, brings Mashiach. She'ikir havei the oz havei the satshuva. In the times of Golus, the primary Avodah is Avodah of Tshuva, V'achagam, Avodah Teiro Mitzvahs, even Yiddishkeit, which is called Teiro Mitzvahs. That in our Maamar is represented by the words Lechem, Lechel, Beged, Lilbish. Sheba saves man Golus, in times of Golus, Hiliacharei, Kedimas, Avodah Tshuva follows after the Tshuva, which is the Avodah of Vishavti Bishalom. Sharei, because Ayadei, Avodah the Tshuva, only through the Avodah of Tshuva, then you come to the Madrega of Maisim Tevim. The good deeds that we do. They follow the Madrega of Tshuva. Says the Rebbe Nasa Tutzichuf. This accomplishes Inyan Vishavti Bishalom Mashiach Asad Lavei. The idea of Vishavti Bishalom, which happened when Mashiach comes. The Rebbe says you must understand how important the avodah we do today is, particularly the avodah Tshuva Vishavti Bishalom, because it sets up the Giloyim where to be Asad Lavei. The Rebbe visits the Zohar that we started today in the beginning of today's class. That even though in the pasuk it says first Beged Lechem Lechel, Beged Lilbish Vishavti Bishalom, Teira, Mitzvahs, Tshuva, but in the darkest times of Golus, the Tshuva comes first. Like it says in the Mishnah, Yafa Tshuva U'Maisim Tevim. Yafa Shoah Achaz, the Tshuva Maisim Tevim, Elam Azem Kol Chayel. Above first you say Tshuva, and then you say Maisim Tevim. And of course you all know it says in Tanya Perek Lamed Aleph, that the Pshat Tshuva Maisim Tevim is that you're doing mitzvahs not to fulfill your obligation, you're doing mitzvahs to Tshuva, to Lashov, to return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to become Maamar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So here the Rebbe says again, the avodah that we do at the end of time of Golus is in such a way that the tshuva comes before the Torah mitzvahs, and it sets up the great Gili, which is going to be the Yasod Love. Va'ad bracket, I'm on page Pehei, Sif Chav Ches, 8 lines down. He brings the famous word from the Rebbe Marash. What's the word for the Rebbe Marash? The Rebbe brings it in so many Maimorim. The word for the Rebbe Marash is as follows: that we say that if you have the law of causality, of cause and effect, I push the table moves. Why? Because I'm stronger than the table. If the table is stronger than me and I push on the table, I move backwards. It's a simple law of causality. And the law of causality says that the cause has to be stronger than the effect. The ilah has to be stronger than if I push on this table, and this table weighs 1,000 pounds, and I'm not stronger to push it, I'm going to be pushed back because the table is stronger than me. If I would successfully push the table, that would prove that I'm stronger than the table. So the Rebbe says, if we bring Mashiach to the avodah we do now, you have to say that the avodah of now is higher than Mashiach itself. So it isn't only, like he said before, Vishavti, Bishalom, that what we do now is important to set up what's going to be later. Moreover, what we do now is higher than what we're going to do later. V'haraya, it brings about the later. Let's read it inside. 1 hour of tshuva and ma'asim tevim in this world is better than chayei elam haba. And he brings the lashon from the Rebbe Marash, lefi shegeirem hadover. When we have a cause and an effect, the cause is chazak yeser me'anas hayod. It has to be greater than its effect. And therefore, since the work we do today sets up the gili of the yasser, is that this is high. Number 2, the pleasure of elam haba is human pleasure, which is limited, and the tainug of tshuva is tainug beidi, which is even higher. This is another word, tainug beidi, but the word over here is that tshuva and ma'asim tevim are both considered tainug beidi. So the Rebbe says that what we do now is incredibly important in setting up what's going to be Eliyasad Laveh, and in a real way, what we have now is going to be even greater than what's going to be after Mashiach comes. Like we all know the famous Hayem Yem, What's the famous Hayem Yem? Dan when Mashiach wird kommen, Mashiach is going to come, wird men banken nach der Golus tag, we're going to miss Golus. Now why would a person live after Mashiach and miss Golus? Because he'll be able to see in retrospect, in hindsight, how much promise, how much opportunity there was in Saves Managolos, in learning Torah and doing mitzvahs and setting up all of these Gilui. And especially, whereas, in as much as the work we do today, reveals the revelations of godliness which will be after Mashiach comes. And in such a way, and especially the fact that through the work of now, affects what's going to be when Mashiach comes, in such a way that even before Mashiach comes, we have a taste of what's going to be the Asad Lavik Canal Sivchav Daldach which we didn't learn yet. The Mekivon, whereas Shaveda besaves Managolos Yavedas Atshuva. We know that the avoid of the Yidnu and the times of Golos Yavedas Atshuva. Now we already discussed this. And what did we say? That there's 2 sdorim. One say that is beged lechem lechel, beged little bit, Vishavti Bishalom. First Torah, then mitzvahs, then tshuva. And the other say that is Vishavti Bishalom, first tshuva, then Torah mitzvahs. And we are talking in saves managolos, when they say that is certainly first tshuva. So the Rebbe says, the Mekivon Sha'aveda Shebesaves Managolos, in as much as the work we do in the end of the times of Golos, as Avedas HaTshuva is the work of Tshuva. So he brings the Rambam, O Bal Tshuva Nemar, by Bal Tshuva it's written, V'hoya terim yikro v'ani ene, that a Bal Tshuva is answered immediately even before he calls. L'chein, therefore, Gam Besaves Managolos is even in the ends of Golos. O Befrat Kishesh Gam HaTfila Yikru'u, Yikaru Vishavti Bishalom, when you actually call to the Eibishter, Nasa Kvar V'aniyena. Hashem answers immediately, and the Rebbe translates what this means, Hamshachas V'gila Mein HaYom Nilasa, that we have now a taste of what's going to be after Mashiach comes. So first of all, what we do now creates Mashiach. Second of all, what we do now is greater than Mashiach, because the cause is greater than the effect. And third of all, what we do now gives us Mashiach even now. And the Rebbe finishes now with brachas. Ubedogmas Yankov. By Yankov Avinu Agashmi, the physical person Yankov Avinu. Shabiyes Yadayin Becharim, while he was still in Charan Hoya Vayivret, Ish made became very rich. Vayi late saying the rabbis, he had much sheep. And the Rebbe says in the parenthesis, which is the most important thing, sheep. And maidservants and slaves and camels and donkeys. And of course, this is all Yonim Ruchniim al derech. This is by every single Jew. In the last days of Golos, and as we are in Choron, if it's made to become very rich. Begashmias. Ube'ef and the pod, the Bishalom, as redeemed in peace, B'chol HaPirushim in all translations, of B'chol HaParatim in all details. Hein Ba'aveda Ruchni is both in the spiritual service. Ubefrat B'limud B'avatas Teres HaChasidus, especially in the spiritual service, which is about learning and spreading Chassidus. Shadi B'lishim B'lbulim, Sheyeh B'lishim B'lbulim V'tachas HaRachov, nothing should interfere. We should have no difficulties, and we should with great breitkeit, great farnem, great breath. V'hein binyanim gashmi, as well as our material lives, ube'ef and do paratzto, that by every single yidin goals there should be a hispartzos, a bursting out of the seams, v'yifreitz, of blessing spiritually and materially. And the Rebbe finishes with these words: Shezeh yemar v'yezaros, this will hasten and accelerate. Hagulo ha'asida, the final gula, which is called achishena, which means that it should happen before the time. We should bring him before the Be'ita, but we should hasten his coming. Ba'achishena gufa, achishena shabateich achishena, shabakarev mamish, that very quickly a cage some lacheshach should be into darkness. V'yikablu pnei Mashiach Tzidkenu, we should all be zeichet to greet Mashiach Tzidkenu's countenance. She'elichenu la'artzenu agadoyshe, will take us to the Holy Land. Eretz asher tamid inyad Hashem alakecha ba. It's a land that the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu are upon it. Mereishes Hashana vad Achres Shana, from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. And the Rebbe says the words Eretz Yisrael l'gvuleseh, Eretz Yisrael to all of its borders. In other words, the borders that the Eibishter gave us. The borders should be broadened further. And this is the end of the Maamar. We went the whole Maamar. Now we skipped 2 sifim. Sif Chavhei and Chavav, which we're going to learn in Mitzvah Hashem in our final Shir. But this is the end of the Vishavti Bishalom. In the last Maamar we explained what it means. In the last class we explained what it means. In this class we explained, I guess, 2 things. The Hayavaya Lila Likim and then Beisa Likim. And we explained how the Vishavti Bishalom, even though it's supposed to happen Liyosad Lovei, we have a taste of it even now. And in Mitzvah Hashem in the next class, with Hashem's help, we will complete this series of classes on this Maamar.